Good afternoon. It's Cinco de Mayo of 2021, the day that I record this. I'm in Lime Ridge Open Space in Walnut Creek, California. This is part of the mini-series about the Quarry and part of the larger series about historical sites that I enjoy. I've been hiking here off and on for 25 or more years. I want to tell that story as well, but right now I just want to tell you the history of this beautiful place. This was the largest limestone quarry in the world for a short time period before World War One, and that was 1903 to 1915. And you'll see its evidence in the rocks and hills of three places I know of. One is this right here, Lime Ridge, across the street and across the big road of Ignacio in Walnut Creek Open Space, and then finally in what the Markham Nature area seems to have quarry related stuff in it. So this was eventually what became the Cowell Portland Limestone Company. Was taken over from another company that started in 1850. And that's a very old story. Just the idea that there's people that came out here during the gold rush to look for gold and found out about a business concept called mining the miners. That is, just like Levi Strauss said, you know what I like a lot better is selling sturdy pants and other gear to miners. It makes a lot more economic sense and it's much more stable. And I get to shower every week. I don't know if that's what he would say. That's what I would say. I would say showering every day was a meaningful benefit of one's job and living situation that obviously miners did not have. So the birth of the company that did this had to do with mining the miners. That is, as miners came here, got gold, spent money, there was both a need for infrastructure and an economy for infrastructure. And limestone is a huge part of making concrete. And the method used here was the most modern of its time until it shut down. You see, brief history, two historical things are happening. So World War II is about to begin. World War I, sorry, is about to begin. And two things occur simultaneously to a man who is trying to run a big quarry, a big limestone mining operation. One, across the world, somebody comes up with a faster and cheaper way to make limestone. So you're already economically in a funny situation. That is, you're going to have to cut costs or get out of business. Or maybe go to work for the enemy. You know, those are all things you do economically when you're faced with, my method is now not going to be competitive. Second, his workers wanted more money and were beginning to strike. So he had no choice, in my opinion. I mean, who knows? There's always other choices, like I said, selling to the enemy, but I mean, he recognized that the days of this quarry had come to a close. So he shut it down in 1915. Until the 70s, this was its own town, but it was a company town before it broke down. So in the years from 1903 to 1915, it would have been like Somersville, or would have been like the other many company towns that rose up around various forms of California mining. But as there weren't jobs here, because all the jobs had been in the quarry, just people sort of drifted out over time. In the 70s, it was absorbed legally into Concord, and throughout that time period, all these trees and bushes just kind of grew up and became a nature area. Because if you're familiar with the trailhead for this place, that's at the corner of Cowell, once again, see, Cowell's left his name on the landscape, and Ignacio, there's a trailhead. But 25 years ago, when I first learned about this place, there was just a fence there. And I used to hike. The entry point that I knew about was on the canal trail where it hits the golf course. And I would walk up that hill, a real steep hill, and I was a very young man, but it still got me out of breath. But I've had asthma of some kind since I was like 12, so that's not unusual. It used to take a couple hours to get to where I am right now. And where the trailhead is now was a fence and bushes, and the animals used to think it was so private that I'd find recent kills, a recently killed deer leg, the leg of a deer, the rest of it had been taken away. So this was a very wild area, and made it my point to search most of this place. I didn't know it was a quarry until more recently, but there's lots of rusted metal, there's foundations and buildings, there's what appears to be a graveyard that I hope to show you later. There's pieces of a train track, um, just beautiful piles of rock and these curved out bowl shapes in the hills that are from where they attempted just to eke out all of the limestone itself. So then, after being part of Concord since the 70s, and I believe its history has kind of been allowed to go by the wayside, in the early 2000s, this land became slated to become adjacent to the Cal State Hayward or East Bay, whichever one that is on the road right here. And so they began to develop the area. So it goes this trailhead, housing development, and then college. So it's no longer in the woods because, modern development has come right up next to it. So this has been a place that I've been hiking for a long time, and it has become different. There's still places that are hard to access, still places where animals think that they are kind of safe from people. There's deer up here, turkey, although turkey are invading this area in force. Jackrabbits, snakes. There's a lot of rattlesnakes in one particular section. And where you have still piles of rock that are left over from the quarrying of over 100 years ago. You have big rock piles that are full of hundreds of lizards. They will come out and enjoy the sun and go back in as if they left them a housing development, like a multi-level apartment building for lizards. I am going to hike up to where the graveyard is and try to show that to you with this technological setup, and encourage you, if you can, to come up and experience this old quarry, and if not, to enjoy the things I've taught you and see if you can seek out pieces of history and nature in your own area that where God's creation is kind of gone by the wayside and it's kind of hidden. Because of the force of modernity, many beautiful things in creation and history and science kind of get swept under because they're no longer current or interesting. I think they're current and interesting. All right, if I have equipped you, encouraged you, equipped you in any fashion, please like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, pray more and complain less. Thanks.